Waiting on this to actually get going. All right.
Okay.
So welcome to Microsoft Teams. This is our introductory meeting where we take a broad look at Microsoft Teams and what it looks like, what it does, what we plan to use it for here at the institution, and give you a brief overview of the features. One thing to note, we will have additional sessions, as everybody has seen, that delve more in depth into specific topics, but please feel free at any given point in time to stop me and ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer. So to kick that off, let's start off with the purpose of Microsoft Teams. And I'm going to start with the Microsoft idea as I understand it, and then I'm going to talk about the Linear Tech idea of how we're going to implement this tool. So the purpose of Microsoft Teams, is, as I understand it, is that Microsoft looked across their enterprise and they said, well, we have all these really nice tools, but they're spread out all over the place. And that's traditionally the way tools have been for most of the times computers have been around. If you needed to edit a Microsoft Word document or an Excel document, you had to go into Microsoft Word or Excel. If you needed to have the files shared with someone, you needed to go to a different place. If you needed to be able to have a chat with somebody, you had to go to, Microsoft has this service called Yammer that's a live chat. Many of you guys are familiar with Jabber, which is Cisco's live chat, the older version. If you needed to be able to do a video conference call, you had to go to another service, Skype, in essence, with Microsoft. If you wanted to make telephone calls, you had to either go to a hard desk telephone, a cell phone, or something like that. You had to go all these different places to access all these different services. And what Microsoft said is, there's a better way to do this. And, most of the time, I will not be the person that's going to sing the praises of Microsoft. I see a lot of the issues they've had. I see David shaking his head. They've had issues throughout the years, and you guys know that. This is a tool that I think they've done a pretty good job with. And something I'll tell you, too, is they are continuing to improve this tool on a regular basis. So the idea behind this is what's typically called a single pane of glass. So you have multiple different services that are out there. And instead of having to go around and find them in all these different places, they're all in one place. So in essence, it's like a single window and you get to access all your stuff. And they're continuing to make that a better single window and even more and more different things. At Linear Tech, we looked at, again, basically the same process, how we do everything. And we saw SharePoint, we saw intranet, there's the website, there's all these other places with information that are stored all over the place. And we thought, well, we've got to come up with a better way to present this information. We've got to come up with a better way to store this and track this information, a better way for us to communicate, a better way for us to have longevity of information. I'll talk about that more in just a minute. And Microsoft Teams seemed to provide the answer for us for that. So the next piece I'm going to talk about is a little bit of how we decided on how to form the first set of teams inside Microsoft. The idea behind a team, as Microsoft has it, is that there is a group of people or a team. They need access to common resources. So they need access to the same files. They need access to easy meetings. They need access to a chat system where they can very quickly talk with each other without the delays that email might have. They can easily make calls or video calls between each other or share that information. And I talked about longevity of information. The Teams allows a new person that joins to see the history of all that information as well. So they're not just stuck picking up from day one when they walk in the door. They can scroll back through the chats. They can scroll back through the emails. They can scroll back through the files and the previous versions if they need to. And they can see all that historical information when they join a team. Teams can be of any different size. We have a team we'll look at in a minute called all team members. And that consists of every employee, excuse me, at Linear Tech. So obviously there are different things that you're going to do with every individual team. But the tools that you have available to you are the same within every team. You just may implement those tools a little bit differently. So when we looked at how do we have teams here at Linear Tech, what is our natural structure, excuse me, that already exists for teams? And the first place we looked was the organizational chart. And that just kind of made sense. You've got the entire structure of the organizational chart. Guys, I'm sorry. Something got caught in my throat here. So you've got the structure of the entire organizational chart. And if you look at it, it naturally breaks down into smaller teams. So you have student affairs as a team, and then inside student affairs, you'll have financial aid or the registrar's office, etc. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Over on the instructional side, it's the same kind of thing. You break out to the full instructional team with everybody that's in there, from the vice president and down, and then you see those break out into divisions underneath the deans, and then the different departments and programs and things like that. And then you have natural groupings of people that also stem from the organizational structure, not necessarily the chart itself. You have full-time people, you have part-time people, you have adjuncts, you have tutors, you have lab assistants, all those different types of categories that may cross between departments, but they're still positional and they're still very easy to identify once we have the information in the system. And so that's what we latched onto. And so let me kind of show you that structure really quickly. So this is, if you're looking at Microsoft Teams, and we're not going to talk about how to install that today. If you have any issues with that, please let us know and we'll make sure we take care of that on a one-on-one basis. Most computers have it at this point. But here you've got all team members. And so again, that consists of everyone, every employee here at the college. So that anything that goes in there needs to have a college-wide focus. We don't want to put things that are just for the IT team in there because that wouldn't make a lot of sense. We have the LTC cabinet, which is the vice presidents and the cabinet. We have our systems administrators here, the IT team, and we have the full-time team. That's, again, everybody that's full-time is part of that team. If you're a part-timer, there's an LTC part-time team. Whether you're an adjunct, a lab assistant, or anyone else that's part-time, you have a team that belongs to just you. Again, we talked about how can we identify teams and automatically build them based on the structure of the organization by campus. So at LTC Hall campus, if your main base is here at the Hall campus, you should be able to see the LTC Hall campus team. One thing that you may not realize when you're looking at these teams, we've always used mailing lists here at the college for any number of things. All team members, Dr. Perrin sends that all the time. And a lot of times there are things that only need to go to full-time people. Sometimes there's things that only need to go to the part-time folks. So what we did is we set up, when we were setting these up, we made them also mailing lists so that when an email is sent to the email address without a space, LTC full-time at laniertech.edu, it goes to all full-time members. You have to be a member of that to be able to send to it, by the way. So those mailing lists are another way the team can be used. Once we look at, okay, we've got the team, we've got the structures, what other kinds of teams might we use at Lanier Tech? Well, we launched a new live chat service that actually uses Microsoft Teams as part of the functionality, and there's the live chat team. So we can actually run live chat from inside Microsoft Teams. Everybody who needs to participate in that across different departments across the college can be added to this team and automatically be able to use the chat. And if there's training materials specific to that live chat team, we can post them in that team and make it available to those folks. And like we talked about, longevity of knowledge is a very important thing here. If you suddenly find that you're stuck in a position and you need to jump in to help with live chat at some point in the future, when you go in there, once we flesh all the information out, you should find training materials. You should see the history of the discussions that people have had about live chat. You'd be able to see some of the common questions that people asked in there and that were answered, or maybe questions that weren't answered and you really want to raise a red flag. And so this was really important. So again, you'll find all that history that's there when you get added to that team. And we intend on doing that for, application specific things like the live chat, but we're also going to do it for committees and other specific purpose things. Most of those things cannot be defined organizationally, so they will not have an automatic membership. So somebody's going to have to be in charge of maintaining that. The good news is, just like before with mailing lists, when we said, if the administrative assistant is in charge of maintaining that mailing list, you'll be able to do the same thing with a team. We can put someone in charge of that team They can add people, take people out. So if you've got a committee, you can have someone in charge of maintaining the membership for that and add people and take them out, that type thing. So it gives you that, again, still a centralized place. You can still have that information, but if it's, say, if there's a technology advisory committee, whoever is the chair of that committee can add and move people in and out as that membership changes, or maybe that would be Karen. Those things haven't been decided yet. And whoever joins that would, again, have that history of information there for the committee. Not just standing committees. If there are specific purpose things that need a separate grouping of folks, even for a short time, we can create those and add those. We're going to be very careful on how we do that. We're not going to just create teams willy-nilly, because we do want to make sure that they do have a specific purpose and that Teams is the right fit. It'll be the right fit for a lot of things, not necessarily everything. So that's kind of the purpose behind everything. Again, we looked at the Microsoft purpose, all the different things that Teams could do, and then we looked at our organizational structure and said, how can we implement that automatically and say, if you're a full-time person, you automatically get added to the full-time team so that there's no wait. There's no, hey, IT forgot to. Those things are automatic and they happen immediately. And then how can we expand that into the other different areas that would be team focused? When you think team, think actual team, football team, baseball team, the IT team, the registrar's office is a team of folks that work together for a common goal. So think of the word team in that nature when you're looking at how we have defined teams. That's really what we tried to focus on. Again, the next thing we want to talk about are the different features that are available inside Microsoft Teams. But before I move on to that, are there any questions so far? Feel free to unmute. If one of you guys in the IT department, if y'all can watch the chat, because I can't see the chat from here. Oh, y'all are quiet. Last night's group, there were only, 7 people, and they asked more questions. Come on. Wake your minds up. Brains open. Okay, moving forward. Features. And please stop at any given point in time to ask questions. You can either type them into the chat or just start talking and I'll stop. No big deal. So features that are inside a team. I'm going to start off with the all team members team. Every one of you should have access to this. And you can see the structure, and we're going to talk about that here in just a moment. So the first thing inside here is to understand how this window is laid out. Actually, let me back up one step. How do you access Microsoft Teams? There are 2 ways. You can access Microsoft Teams by going to teams.microsoft.com through a web browser, logging in. In essence, you're going to have very much the same experience. Or you can search the Windows Store and you can install Teams. Does not require administrator privileges, and it'll auto sign in for you, and you can access it just like it'll look exactly the same as it looks here. Again, 2 different ways: teams.microsoft.com or through the Windows Store and install it if you don't already have it. And again, your experience should be very similar no matter which method you choose to access. It does not require VPN, so as we move more and more things over into Microsoft Teams, there'll be less and less of a need for VPN for different things. So that'll be a thing that I think everybody will appreciate. So again, backward into the structure of the team itself and the program and how it works. On the left-hand side, you're going to note there's a little icon that can be changed to whatever you'd like it to be for your specific team, if you're the owner, and the name of the team. And then these areas over here are called channels. By default, a team has only one channel. We create a second channel in most of the teams called announcements. And announcements is not used very much, honestly, and we may even not use that in the future, just depending. So in the default channel is called general. The reason channels exist is to do a logical segmentation of information. So if you have a large department, I know John Dunbar does this and uses his extensively, uses Microsoft Teams really extensively for this. He may create a channel for different, I'm not sure how he's done it, but maybe he would create a channel for different programs. And while everybody could see all the different things that were being discussed, they just wouldn't necessarily have to go into and talk in that channel or have files in that channel or any of the other different capabilities that were there. And it would make it very easy if he only needed to meet with this segment of folks. He wouldn't have to figure out, do we need to create a whole new team for that, or how do we do that? I can go in there and have a meeting with them, ask them to come into the channel for their program and join a meeting. Make it very simple and very easy to do. And again, we'll delve more into the specifics of how to do that when we talk about using Microsoft Teams to host and run meetings. But a channel is basically, like I said, a segmentation of information. So most of the time, teams aren't going to segment out a whole bunch. Most of our teams, we just have a single 1 or 2 segments, maybe just one for announcements, maybe one for just general, everything else goes into. But again, that capability is there if you need to segment that out even further. Now, that's over here on the left. Across the top, they have different tabs. So the first tab that is always there is Posts. And if you're familiar with Instant Messenger, going back to the AOL chat back in the 90s, ICQ, if you're familiar with that, Google has a chat, Jabber has chat here at the college. There's a bazillion different chat systems that exist for instant chat, instant messaging on the internet. This is the Microsoft solution for that, and it is called, basically it's the chat function within Microsoft Teams. In here, it's called Posts. So if you are allowed to, and now in the all team members, we've turned this off for non-owners, so you wouldn't be able to do it here unless you're an owner of the team, but you can come in here and you can type stuff and you'll be able to see all that. Let me go in and show you in a team that's not all team members. And I believe I have a test team here. And so again, you see the same structure, got an icon, a name, there's our general channel, and I can do testing. And there's tons of features in here that you can use. We'll go into those a lot more in depth with chat, just to kind of give you a quick idea of the kinds of things you can do with chat. You can reply to it. And you can see how it's indented, so you can actually have a threaded conversation here. There's all these little emojis. It becomes almost like a social kind of thing. You can do these other things to the messages themselves. And then once you are looking at what options you have, there you've got font options and formatting. You can attach files, all the lovely little crazy emoji kind of things that you have that you can do. So you can have a little bit of fun with this. They've got Giphy, if you're familiar with Giphy. Then you've got Stream, which is a like live video type things. There's a praise function, which is new. Microsoft is constantly doing new things for this. And let's do a thank you. And I will thank, I don't know who else is in this team, so I can't thank myself apparently. Let's see, I think there may only be me at this point because this is a test team. But anyway, there's this praise thing that you can do. And then there's tons of other things that you can add in here. We'll talk more about that again when we get into some of the more advanced functions of Teams. But as you can see, there's tons of different things here. You can also meet. You can schedule a meeting for this particular team right here from within the team, and that goes out as a calendar invitation to everybody. So again, that's the basic structure of the instant chat, has all kinds of other features associated with it. So you can see we've got basic chat, we've got all kinds of emojis and icons and fancy little things, and then we've got some meeting capabilities and all kinds of stuff. One single program, one single pane of glass makes it easy to get to. The next function that's available in every single team is files. And so in this particular team, there are no files. So what I'm going to do is go back to my team list. I'm going to go into all team members. All of you currently have access to this right now. I'm going to click on files. So in here, I'm going to go into the information technology area. There's tons of different things. We're starting to move some things in here. You've probably seen me send out links for the past year and more to, it'll say teams.microsoft.com and be a link that's like 10 lines long. It's just going to take you to one of these locations without you having to do all the navigation. So inside my technology standards, there are some files in here, and you're going to note these are folders, just like you're used to. So if you are in a team and you're in charge of the organizational structure of organizing all the files that team needs to share with each other, you can do folders. You can do any sort of file can be stored in here. But inside this file structure, you can create Word documents, Excel documents, PowerPoint. You don't have to do those separately on your computer. OneNote, even forms within Excel. Again, we talked about this to be a single pane of glass so that if you have a Chromebook, and as you guys know, Chromebooks, you can't actually install Microsoft Office, but I can click on this Excel document and I can open it up and I can edit this document. While I'm in here, one of the advantages of using this basically online version of Excel, so it's not installed on my computer, it's running in the Teams program or in the Teams web browser, is that you can have more than one person in here. I don't know if one of the other IT folks can jump into this document for me real quick so that you guys can see that. While they're getting to that, you're going to notice that I've got an open in desktop app. So if I click that, it's actually going to allow me to open and work on that file in Excel on my computer if I have it installed. I have a comments area. These comments are just like in Excel. They're going to be stored here in the actual document itself, and others will be able to view that. And then I have a new thing called conversation. So if I open up the conversation tab, it's going to allow me to, let me move this out of the way, allow me to actually start typing a conversation here about this document. So if I do that, maybe I have a question about this document. This is not contained within the document. This is actually going to start a chat sequence over in chat about this document, and it will alert other members of the team that some sort of question or a comment or something like that that needs attention has been entered in about this document. So it's not just within the document. That's a great way to, have a conversation starter. Hey, is this version the version we're supposed to have out here? Something like that. It's a really great way to do it. If we did have a second person, here we go. I think this is David McMurray. David, if you can go to the printers and scanners tab and just click one of the cells there and type something in for me. You can see up here at the top, I've got MD, that's McMurray David, his initials there. And when he comes in here, there we go. You can see he's just typed over here 100-inch TV. And David, if you Netflix. What would normally happen, and for some reason, it happened last night beautifully, not happening today for some reason. You can see I'm just typing away. As normally we would see, you can see it's purple color up here. You would see my square is green for which cell I have highlighted. You would see his cell highlighted with the purple color that is associated with his name up top. But you can still see him typing. Again, it's nice to be able to see those edits happening in real time, especially if you're on the phone with somebody and you're trying to help them fix something. This can be a lifesaver. You don't have to share a screen. You don't have to do anything like that. You open the document, they open the document in Teams, and you can watch them work. And no, we need to move that over there. I'm going to work on this tab. You work on that tab. So David could stay here, work on printers and scanners, and I could come over here and I could work. And actually, there we go. Now we've got Linda in there. She's editing printers and scanners. There we go. Linda's is working properly. You can see the color associated with her user up top. And now you can see her highlight there which cell she's selected. So you can tell where they are most of the time. David's probably done something funny to his account, knowing David, that is keeping it from happening. No comments, David. I'm just picking. But it works really well. So again, you don't have to have Microsoft Office installed. You don't have to have Excel installed. You can do this from a Mac. You can do it from a Linux box with a good web browser on it, even a Chromebook, any sort of device like that, phone, tablet, anything with a good web browser on it. You'll be able to get in here and be able to co-edit with people at the same time. Or even if you're not co-editing, just get in there and do editing within the document inside the team itself. So if y'all will undo those edits, of course blame Microsoft. That's whose fault it is. Absolutely, David. So I'm going to go ahead and close that out. The same goes for Microsoft Word. We've got a Word document in here that you can get to. And so again, PowerPoint, all those other different options. And not only that, I mentioned you can store other files here. It doesn't have to be just one of these file types. You can upload any file into here. You can only edit basic ones. Text documents like Notepad document type documents, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote. Those are the only ones you can edit in here, but you can upload a PDF. You can upload licensing information, files, anything you can store in your My Documents folder can be stored inside of the files area of a team. And again, that's intended to replace in the long term those shared drives in large part that we currently have for each department. And so that's something we're going to work with departments on over the next year or so. You know, we've got a deadline. All you guys saw the email. We have a deadline of March to move off of the intranet and SharePoint to get those documents moved over into Teams. I will make the point, I said it in the email, I'll say it again, intranet will not go away. The document storage piece will be migrated into Teams, and the intranet is going to be rebranded as reporting.lineartech.edu because that's all that will be there at that point, are just banner reports basically. And so we'll rebrand it to reporting, so that makes more sense as to what it is. And again, all those documents that are stored there will be documents and forms will be moved over into Microsoft Teams in the correct team. If it's supposed to be college-wide, it'll be in the all team members team and that type of thing. So that begs the question. There's all these folders and they're maintained by all these different things. And y'all know that if you're looking at SharePoint and you're trying to find where stuff is and you go into a department and you're looking at the files for your department, which ones do I actually need? How do I know what it is? Because everyone knows no two brains work exactly alike. So no two people will organize file structure alike. Oops, didn't mean to minimize that. So inside this, I don't think that it would work very well for us to say everybody has to organize their files in exactly the same way. They have to name them in this way. We all have to use the same name. And that just be crazy. So how do we make sure that people that are storing the files can organize them the way they want, and that people that need to find the files or forms can find them? So what we will do, if you take a look, and I'm basically going to borrow this feature, inside the old intranet, there is an area called Documents and Forms, and you can see this. Now, everything is not here. There's stuff split between the SharePoint server and the intranet, and it's all over the place, and this is not necessarily checked and maintained very much anymore. But this is a great way to organize information, is in some sort of a page with links so that you can see, and see it's in alphabetical order by column, mostly anyway. The budget tools is out of order. And so there's all kinds of things here, and I like the ability to find things this way would make a lot more sense to most folks than trying to search through here. So how do we do that with Microsoft Teams? And again, this is a very, very high level overview. We'll cover it a lot more in depth with the files area, with the files course. But here's an example. This is inside Microsoft Teams. We create a tab and we build out a structure. These are links that go outside of Microsoft Teams. Some of these go over to YouTube. Some of these go over to the help desk article page. Some of these actually go to the Linear Tech website, et cetera, et cetera. So that you can bring any number of bits and pieces of information, YouTube, the website, documents that are stored already within Teams in the storage, written instructions that need to be there, all different kinds of bits and pieces of information can be combined together in a nice presentable format inside these tabs. So for the all team members, there's a lot of discussion to be had on exactly how that's going to work. We have a lot of different ideas that we've been batting around, and we've got to get together with the leadership team and really come up with something over the next few months that makes sense here, so it makes a good presentation for all employees, new and existing alike. But this is a great example of how that can work. So you can see that there will be additional tabs across the top in all team members. And of course, that's going to be the case if we take a look at the IT team. We have some really wonderful GIFs that people have posted, but there are tons of little links, and this is links to different tools that are available within the department. This is actually a link to an online spreadsheet that details the IT budget. There's all different other kinds of different lists and things that we maintain, and we link all those things up here at the top. It basically becomes almost like a shared bookmarks in a sense, which is very nice for everybody to be able to have. So with that, I'm going to pause for just a moment. We've covered a whole lot of information. Again, this is meant to be a very glossy, high-level overview. Do we have any questions?
Hey, Anthony, this is Megan.
Yes, ma'am.
I may have missed this, to be honest, earlier, but I don't think I did. So If we create a team, or if we had a team, say for student engagement with just 4 of us in it, is that something that like the whole college can see, or is it private just to the members?
Excellent question. The teams are available only to the people that are members.
Okay.
So if you have, and this is something that that's a very, very, very good point. Thank you so much for asking that question. When there is documentation that the IT folks maintain, if we need the entire college to see it, I don't want to keep 2 copies. I don't want to put a copy inside the IT team. We've got this thing called Document Standards and Procedures, and you can see here's our files area for that. And it's organized very much like it's not a policy manual, but it's organized kind of like a policy manual with different series and different documents. And you can see there's inside just one of these, there's tons of these documentation and procedure folders, and then the actual standards that define what goes in each of those. So you can get really like in depth into the things that you put in here. And so if something in here needs to be available to the outside world, I don't want to go in and maintain 2 copies of things. So what I would do is I would put a pointer in my local team that was only visible to me to something over into all team members. And that's why every department has an area here. We haven't built these out, of course, but administrative services would have, we just tossed one in there for facilities. There's nothing in there yet. We would build out each individual department here, and the only things that would go here would be things that needed to be available to all employees. But yes, that's an excellent question. Teams are, the items within the teams can be made accessible to people outside, but as a general rule, you're going to want to keep those available only to the team members, which is the default. Any other questions? That was a very good one. Thank you.
Hey, it's Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we want to make our team, can we make it, or does IT have to make it for us?
IT has to make the team, and the reason is we're trying to be very careful on how we structure those. There's a process that we go through to create those, because there's all kinds of settings that have to be checked. Otherwise, the team doesn't work the way it's supposed to work, and membership needs to be, properly like set up initially so that the right person can manage it, and that way we know who's in charge of it. In the Wild West, before anybody could create a team, but we removed that capability because we were getting, there were, I think, 5 or 6 different teams out there that had the same name, and it's like, well, what's going on? When everybody creates a team, there's no real structure to it, and it gets very confusing because anybody can add anybody to a team, and that's why we make sure that has to flow through IT.
So do we just desk ticket to do that?
Yep, just do a help desk ticket and we can get that done. Any more questions? All righty. So what I'm going to do now is run through the features, the basic things that are available here on the left-hand side, and we'll see where we are with time. So you have this neat little icon called Activity, and what that's going to do is show you the latest activity that is available inside of each team that you're a member of. So these things, except for the Teams button that's there, exist outside of the teams themselves. So when I go into Activity, again, I'm seeing something from every team that I have, and that's by default the feed. Now you do have the My Activity, and this is what you have done inside of teams themselves. And you can see there's David made a nice little graphic for us to be able to see. And then there's filtering capabilities, and if we wanted to only pull the LTCIT team, we could filter that out, and you can see it will very quickly and easily filter those things. And again, we'll go into more detail on some of these bits and pieces at a later point, but it is filled with features that we don't have time to cover today. Chat here, we've got there we go, very good. So you can see here's the chat that's going on within the meeting that we have going right now, which is very nice. And thank you very much, Tina, for that. That's most certainly David's doing there for that thing, that picture. You can see up top we have 19 people. If you click there, you can see who's there. If we wanted to invite additional folks, we could do that. Again, right now we can invite folks that are part of the Lanier Tech employee community. We can't invite folks from the outside. One point I need to make, as we talk about meetings and we start to get into the meeting topic when we do that with our session in a few weeks, this can be used in exactly the same way that WebEx is. So if you're going to run a meeting inside Microsoft Teams, you can invite folks from outside the college. They can join without having to have a Microsoft account, just like they would do with WebEx. And to be completely honest, our experience within the IT department is that Microsoft Teams is actually cleaner audio and better video. It's better than WebEx. I've been shocked and surprised by that. Again, I don't really expect Microsoft to perform to those kinds of standards, but they have been. So again, very, very much kudos to Microsoft for that. Does it have captioning? Actually, yes. So let me run through these features real quick, and then I'll hit the meetings. It has live captioning. So it is a Microsoft AI trying to figure out what you're saying. It works better than YouTube, but it is far from perfect. So here's the test. And we see we've got a little typing there. So people are still, do they have breakout sessions? Not right now. They do not. I wish. I'm hoping that's something they're going to add. We've already been on the Teams icon over here. This does have an assignment session. Please don't ask us questions. We don't have any idea. What I can tell you is this, due to the nature of the way student accounts are created, where they're created, employee accounts and where they're created, those are in two entirely, totally separate systems. It's like they live on different sides of the continent. And right now, the two shall not meet. We are making plans to try to combine those two systems together. This is a long-standing problem and it affects a whole bunch of different things, but it's a multi-tiered issue and it's very, very complex when we look at merging those two systems together. And it's too complex for us to tackle right now, but we are hoping to be able to do that in the future. And when that happens, you would be able to have a team with students that are actually in the team, not just invited to a meeting anonymously. They could actually be a member of the team and they could share files and all those capabilities would be there. We're just not quite there yet. This is the team calendar. So right now I'm looking at all the calendar entries for every team that I'm in and my local calendar as well. So you can see everything together in one place. Very handy, very easy to use. If I'm looking to join a Microsoft Teams meeting I was invited to, I can open up the calendar entry like you probably all did, or I can come into Teams itself and click the join button. Again, very handy. And if I'm creating a meeting, I can decide who I want to invite, or I can actually invite the entire team. You'll see here, I can invite the team. I can invite multiple teams to a meeting. You can use those to invite folks. It works really well. You've got all the standard type things in here. And again, when we get into meetings, we'll really delve into how to do that. But I do want to show you really quickly from within your calendar. If you're creating a new appointment, you can click New Teams Meeting, or you can double click just like you would for a normal meeting and just add the Teams meeting here, and it just adds the link, and then be able to move on and take care of that meeting invite just like you would with a regular calendar invitation. Believe it or not, Microsoft Teams actually has full telephone system capabilities. We're not using them and we won't in the near future, but I was surprised when in the IT team, what I might do if I'm talking to David and instead of picking up the phone to call him, because I'm already in here chatting, a lot of times it's easier to do an audio call or to do a video call right here. Again, the quality being so high, it actually sounds better than a phone. I don't have to pick it up. I don't have to hold it and cock my head to the side to be able to hold the receiver easy. I can just talk to him through my computer, and it's very nice. But I called Chad, and it went to voicemail. He was, I think, up on a ladder or something, and it went to voicemail. And I was like, what? That's when we found out that this is actually a full-fledged phone system. We just don't have it attached with numbers. It just uses your account right now. It can be, and we don't have it attached to be able to call out to other folks. That may be something that TCSG allows us to do. Right now, we cannot do that, but you can, again, call people within the college and leave them voicemails within Microsoft Teams. So it's very nice. And again, you got your contacts that you can add people to, just like you do in Outlook or anything like that. And you got their history of calls that you've had, and you got your speed dials and all that kind of stuff. This Files button over here, again, these items, except for the Teams one, is a combination of all the different teams that you are a member of. So when I come to Files, I am seeing not just the files for a specific team, like when I was using the tab inside of a team. I am using, in this case, all the files that I have edited across all the teams, all team members 2, the LTCIT team, even the stuff that is actually within my personal documents. So I go to my documents, and these are also the same things that I have actually worked on here. Also over here, I can go to and see just the things that have been edited by me and others in the teams that I'm a member of. So if I go, well, I know that Linda was showing me this technology standards with prices document yesterday when we were having a meeting in our team, but I don't remember exactly where that was. I can come in here to Files, click on Microsoft Teams, and you can see that she had modified that document, and I can then go back to that document and open it up and see what changes were, etc. If you have downloaded files, which you most certainly can, you can upload and download files from the Microsoft Teams system. They'll be listed here. And then you've got your OneDrive, which right now this is just my personal OneDrive, not personal, but my college account OneDrive, which has my documents folder in it, my desktop folder in it, and my pictures folder, of course, as we're all aware from our OneDrive stuff. Now, this is the part we're not going to delve into at all right now, but you can add apps to Microsoft Teams. And this is where I keep saying things keep getting added. And it is an absolute insane number of things. These are just the things we can see right off the top. Planner is an awesome little checkbox. If you're a checker, like I am, I like to make lists and check things off. Planner is an excellent tool for that. Poly is a polling tool that you can use within your chat. I mean, just as simple as you've got your program team, and maybe it's 3 instructors, and you're sitting most of the time in the same set of workstations, and so you can normally talk to each other. But maybe now somebody's in class and somebody's over there, and you go, "What do you want for lunch?" And we're going to go to Arby's or Zaxby's or wherever. Just tell me what which one of those 3 do you want us to go pick up from, and do a poll for it. And they're in class, they get the poll, they can complete the poll. If they've got to pause for just a second in class, they can do that, and you get the answer without having to really do a major interruption. Or you can always just ask the question in chat as well, which can be very handy. I should make the point that Microsoft Teams runs, as I said, not just on a PC. You can run that I run it on my cell phone. So if somebody sends me a chat message in Teams, it pops up on my cell phone as well. So again, I can answer that chat message, I can access my files, I can do all those different things right from my actual cell phone, which is a wonderful thing to be able to do. And we talked about the different number of apps. As you can see, this is the categories, and it goes on and on and on and on. A lot of these you actually have to have a subscription. So maybe the Remind Me, this is not Remind 101, but Remind Me service is a subscription service, but you want to get those reminders inside Microsoft Teams. This is a great way to do that. We do that actually with our help desk system. So when there is a new ticket that gets assigned to me, or there's a new comment on a ticket that I'm working on, I actually get a chat message in here, and I can click on this and go see all the details. So again, it just becomes a nice little handy place to keep multiple things together in one place. The libraries use it at a conference call. We use it in Teams all the time. And Sean, what is the video that you posted there for us? Oh, the breakout sessions on the roadmap. Excellent. Subchannels in your team, you can, that's true. That only works if you have team members. So if it's actually people with a Lanier Tech employee account and they're in the team, I think what Megan was asking for was the ability to do breakouts for anonymous accounts that have come in. which it does not have the capability yet for, but you mentioned hopefully that is on the roadmap. They have it in WebEx, but it's really cumbersome and doesn't work well. And you can't even use your regular WebEx client. You have to go through an entirely different set of software. And so everybody is working towards that, as I'm sure Zoom is working on that as well. Any of the video conference folks are working on that. To be honest, as quickly as Teams is adding things, I'd be shocked if they're not one of the first to get that fully functional. So back to the captioning question. Here we are. We haven't talked about meetings, so I'm going to go over meetings real quick and cover the captioning question as part of that. Again, this is a 50,000-foot overview that we are doing at 50 million miles an hour, so bear with me. This has a lot of similarities to WebEx. So if you've already been through the WebEx training, really and truly, a lot of the things are similar. You've got the capability to turn your cameras on and off, turn your speakers on and off. Here's where your sharing is. Of course, I am already sharing, so I just have the option to stop. For you guys, you should have an up arrow, very similar to WebEx, and you click that up arrow, and then you've got all kinds of options to share specific apps or share the entire screen, which is what I'm doing. And so you can do all that just like you can. Like when you're doing that, we'll talk about this in depth in the meetings training that we're going to do in specific. But if you're going to share a video, when you go to share, there is, I think it's called include system audio checkbox at the top left. Make sure you check that. If you're not planning to share a video where the other people in the meeting need to be able to hear that, don't check that box. That way, if you get a notification through your email or something like that, it doesn't ding through and interrupt the meeting. Again, just like in WebEx and Zoom, you've got your 3 dots for more actions. There's tons of neat and fun things that you can do in here. We'll cover those in just a minute. Raise your hand, lower your hand. These things are very important to me as well. Here's your show conversation, so you can see these are the same things we were seeing, but we can also still see all of the video that is out there as well. And we've got show participants, so we can see all the folks that are in the meeting with us. And as a meeting owner, I have the ability to mute or actually unmute is the only thing I can do. So I can mute participant, or I can mute everybody. And again, there's some neat things in here that we've had asked about WebEx. Where do we get our attendance listings from in WebEx? And there's a rather complicated procedure that David discovered that you can go out and do. You have to go out to the WebEx website and log in and go through a few menu items. Again, Microsoft Teams doing a good job. Makes it very easy. I can just hit download attendance list and I get a copy of that. There's also permissions that you can set up, and we'll cover all that when we go through the meetings thing itself. But now on to the fun stuff. We'll cover right here at the end. We talked about live captions, so don't turn this on yours yet, guys, but I'm going to turn it on mine. Now you can see it said online instead of on mine. It does it in real time, but it is not perfect. If I slow down, which any of you that know me, that's not easy for me to do, it will do a much better job. Does anybody want to unmute and talk? Someone volunteer, please.
Hey, I'll talk.
But I don't think that's what you said there. You did not say the alcohol. Can you try again, please?
Hi, everyone. How's it going today?
There we go. Howard, you have a
Why am I
question?
the only one speaking?
I saw
Sorry,
Howard's hand jump up there.
I was just waving my hand to say, hey, that I heard it. Yeah, just acknowledging it.
I don't
Very
think
good.
it closed captions movements.
No, I don't think so.
Speaking of waving your hands, I heard there's a raise hand indicator. Can you show us where that is if it's available?
It is right here next to the 3 dots. And so if any of you guys raise your hand, you can see there, Howard's got his hand raised. And so does Linda. As the moderator, I have the capability to lower their hand. But again, we'll cover more of that when we actually get into the the meeting's course itself.
Thank you.
Yes, no problem.
Anthony, is there a way on a meeting like this, especially with a lot, it seemed like they had a way that we could vote. Is that possible on this?
I don't know. I would think that there should be a way to use Poly to do that, perhaps. That's something we'll cover when we get into the actual one, the meetings course, where we delve into that in depth. We'll make sure we figure that out and cover that for you. Thank you for pointing that out. So other things that you can do, here I will turn my camera on for a moment, assuming I have the correct camera. Maybe it's the other one. I have multiple cameras. There we go. And so you have background effects. So this is something fun to play with. You can see that a lot of folks have, but here's how you get to it. It's just 3 dots and show background effects. You can add your own pictures. There is a nice one, and Linda pointed this out. I love this blur feature right here. As you can see, my background is blurred. If I turn it off and hit apply, all right, David, he's dancing down there. But you can see the background then becomes much clearer, whereas if I blur it out and apply that, my background gets blurred out. I'm sure maybe you guys are seeing different things in yours, but hopefully you can see mine. And you see some of the beach pictures and different things that are there, and you can add your own again. So, you can have Star Wars folks there with you in the background if you really want to. You can even stand in front of a Linear Tech sign here and wave. So be very loyal to the college, or you can have nothing. I'm going to turn off live captions for now. Again, you've got meeting notes, just like in WebEx. You've got your device settings, which allows you to change which mic you're using, which speaker you're using, which camera you're using, allow participants to move through their shared presentations on their own. There's tons of different things in here, and again, we'll go through each of these in a lot more detail. You can see everybody's playing with backgrounds now. We'll go through these in a lot more detail when we've actually have the meetings course. So that is all the material that I have planned for right now. Do you guys have any additional questions? Steve, I see you said it won't allow you to unmute. You may have a mic problem. If you want to get back in touch with the help desk after this meeting, hopefully we can get that solved for you. Questions? No? Okay. One thing to show you really quickly, the recording of this meeting is going to be available to most of you. If you joined and you were signed in with your Linear Tech email address when you joined the meeting, you should be able to see it, and I will show you what it looks like. Here is the meeting from last night, and when I stop the recording, it shows up in the chat. So if you go to chat and you find the Introduction to MS Teams 9.3 and 9.4 that you can see, I see both because I attended both. You will be able to click on this meeting and play it, or you can say open in Microsoft Streams, and then you can actually download it, which I have done for this meeting earlier, and I'll be posting it on the LTC IT YouTube page, and then sending those links out to everybody, so you can actually attend either session after the fact. I'll stop sharing here now, and we can go back to our standard Brady Bunch type presentation. So you might have any additional questions? Well, all righty then. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it very much. And again, this recording will be available in about an hour or so for most everybody that's here. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.